Well, Harry, thank you for coming on the red carpet round table.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
You're very welcome. What can you tell everybody about yourself and what got you into the entertainment industry?
Yeah, just a little background on me. Yeah, I've always loved watching movies ever from since I was nearly an infant. Some of my oldest memories, actually, one of my very oldest memories was watching Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was so obsessed with that opening scene, especially when in the temple, Harrison Ford is being chased by the boulder. That I used to reenact it at my aunt's place. I used to take a big bouncy ball and I'd run down her stairs and I would pretend like I was Indiana Jones. Yeah, so I grew up on a lot of movies. Started with a lot of the classic blockbusters like the Star Wars trilogy, Lord of the Rings, Terminator films, the Alien films, a lot of the Pixar classics, etc. And then sort of started to veer out to more psychological thrillers. I got real into Christopher Nolan, Memento, which is still my favorite film of all time. I got real into in middle school, and then just started, watching more Hollywood classics, foreign films, kind of just veering out to all different kinds of genres. So, yeah, I mean, I've always loved watching movies, but I actually didn't. I didn't start getting into filmmaking until after college. I suppose I was a little too practical minded for my own good. I was one of those people where I kind of just thought, yeah, after college you're supposed to have the 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever job, and you're gonna hate it, but it is what it is, and the thought really depressed me, so I kind of just buried it and tried not to think about it. Um, but yeah, basically, right at the end of college, it wasn't it definitely wasn't the craziest dream I ever had, but I just had this dream that I was going to film school. I was taking, cinematography classes, acting classes, writing classes, and the dream. I was so happy in the dream, and actually, the dream felt so real that when I woke up, um, I got my backpack, got my jacket, and got ready to go to class. And I suddenly realized it's Saturday. You're at the bar last night. It's noon. You're not a film student, you're not going to film class, you're not making films, and that was probably the single most deflating moment of my life. I um I stopped dead in my tracks, threw all my stuff on the ground, sat on my bed, but then that was kind of when I had the epiphany, where the light bulb came on in my head, and I realized, well, it stinks that as you're getting ready to graduate college, you finally figured out what you were doing because I was studying business at the time. But I realized, I was only, 21 years old at the time, so I had plenty of time to, figure things out, and I kind of just came up with this plan. I had the business degree, so after college, I, just found a decent paying finance job that I would do during the day, and at night I just started to dabble in film. I started to watch a lot of YouTube videos. I rented some books at the library, and while I was doing that, I started networking with other filmmakers. And excuse me, um, I while I was working on a couple film sets, I actually made my first film by myself. This fun, kind of ridiculous film, 515, where it's basically I play two characters, and it's just kind of this action thriller, dark comedy. It was really good to make. I learned the parts of the process I liked and the parts I didn't. And I would say I like most of the filmmaking process. My favorite part is actually editing, which I never would have dreamed. I'd always, for some reason, thought I would hate it. I absolutely love it. It's where everything, even though it's tedious and it takes a long time, it's a lot of work. It's to me where the magic really comes together. And editing is now what I do for a living and what I've been doing for a long time, in addition to the filmmaking. But yeah, and since then I've made a few short films. Enter the Room was my first professional short film, which is finishing up its festival run. Just this kind of a dark psychological thriller that's loosely based on this pretty rough relationship I had with a roommate in college. I made this other dark comedy in the Backseat, kind of fun, ridiculous, pitch black action comedy, and then another psychological thriller, Bay for Blood. I have one feature film, The Corridor Crossing, which it's still in post production, but it was a lot of work. But I'm feeling very good about it. I'd say of all the projects I've worked on, that's the one I'm the most proud of. And then yeah, I have another feature film in Cautious, which I'm looking to get the ball rolling actually in September. I've brought a few people on board to be a assistant director, casting director, and production manager, and I'm going to start looking for more people in the next few weeks. And yeah, and then I have one more. I actually started dabbling in animation, so I have this micro short film animation film called Slivered that I'm working on with my dad, who's a professional artist. So we're just storyboarding that, and yeah, so there's a lot of different projects. Definitely busy, but I love doing this stuff. I breathe it, and
That's
yeah,
amazing.
I hope I love doing it. This much in a handful of years, but we'll see.
Well, you said a lot there, and I appreciate it because I'm so proud of you. I can't wait for all your upcoming projects. Um, and you gotta love what you're doing. You have to be in the entertainment industry. It's if you don't love what you're doing, unfortunately, and a lot of people know, then why continue?
Absolutely. Yeah, just I mean, I completely agree. Just to kind of play off of that, whenever people ask me, like, do you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers? And it may sound like a little bit of a cliche, but I say, like, with this film stuff, it's a lot of work. It's even making the lower budget stuff I do, it's still not that cheap. It's a good thing I have the editing, and I've spent the majority of my life after college working full time. I'm actually just freelance editing now, but I've built the savings to be able to afford to make these films. Because yeah, I mean, some people who start, they might think, oh well, I'll make it big and I'll make a lot of money, and that's possible, but well, that would be great to get to that level. It's not something I expect, especially anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't mind going in the negative. I don't mind the festival rejections. And yeah, sometimes I get negative reviews online. They've been more positive than negative, but I just had a negative one today, but that's okay. But I deal with all that because, once I start working on my next film in Cautious, which I mentioned, despite all that, yeah, it's expensive. There's a lot of rejection. Sometimes people don't like your work. Sometimes they hate it. But despite that, after this, I'm going to be working on my shot list for Incautious. And once I start doing that, I just forget about it all. And I'm back, I'm back in my fantasy world, and with a smile on my
Right, and
face.
you gotta ignore the negative comments.
Yeah, I will say I sometimes the criticism can help. So I like to try to, especially if I receive something consistent about one of my previous films. Um, but like you said, there's some times where, yeah, I've had a review, and I've generally had a very good experience with the critics I've dealt with, even some of the ones who didn't like my films. But sometimes I read it and I think, okay, well, I personally don't agree with that, but I'm not going to fight them on it. They were nice enough to take the time to review my film, which I already appreciate, and I think it's just it's you can't take it personally. Some
Mm-mm.
of it will
You
help,
really
some of it
can't.
won't. But at the end of the day, film is definitely and art is subjective to an extent, and sometimes
Hmm.
people will gravitate towards your work, and sometimes people won't. It's incredibly rare, almost impossible for everyone to love your stuff. I've learned that for sure over the years. So
Yeah, you gotta. It's how do you describe it? A craft. Um,
absolutely,
craft in the entertainment industry. You like you said, you gotta love what you're doing. You know, gotta go for it. And it's a passion. Don't just keep pushing yourself. You don't want to give up. It's easy to give up in the entertainment industry because you have to have a thick skin in the
yeah.
entertainment industry for sure. And that's the one thing independent filmmakers or professional filmmakers are telling is that just work hard, ignore the negative comments, and just do your dream and keep making better films.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I've definitely gained a thicker skin since, even though I've been making these films for a number of years, I really just started putting my stuff out there in 2023. Enter the Room was kind of the beginning, and the film, I'm happy with it. It's done decently well in festivals, but it's a pretty polarizing film. I've definitely gotten some. I've gotten positive reviews, but I've also gotten some negative. The film is very intense. It's there's definitely a darker side to it that I see that it, doesn't always
Hmm.
resonate with everybody. It's very loud and angry. But no, yeah, like you said, it's I think the key is, like I said earlier, when a lot of times people are just giving their 2 cents, even trying to help, and it's just one of those things where, like I said, I'll take what some people say with a grain of salt, but I try to listen to, I try to improve with each film. And there have definitely been times where somebody gave me something, somewhat criticism on the film. And at first I was hurt. And then I might hear two or three more times. And I would look back at the film and agree and learn and kind of,
Right. You can learn from it.
yeah, and just move forward on my next film.
Hmm. And
And one thing I
sometimes you gotta ignore it too.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I think doing all the festivals and starting to receive the reviews, the first really negative review I received was hard. But I've gotten a little more used to it now where when it happens, when I wake up and I'll usually check my Letterboxd and IMDb pages in the morning. When I see a bad one, it's as you get more used to it, it gets easier and you just learn it's this person doesn't hate you. They watched the film and they didn't like
Right. They want it. They want the best for you.
yeah, so but yeah, so it's been a good experience, and I think the negatives have been important, and I think especially as is the case with many filmmakers that I've spoken to, it's just natural that I think in order to go in any really competitive industry, I don't want to use the word arrogance, but I think you need to have pretty extreme confidence to whether it's filmmaking or going into sports or politics or many other just ultra competitive industries. So I think before you put your stuff out there, might have a you might not have a proper sense of what the actual value is. I like to think, every filmmaker can bring something to the table, but you might think you're at this really high level, and then I start going to some of these festivals, especially a few of the really good ones I've been to, and see these films that are just on a whole different level. And it's humbling, but in a good way, dealing with the rejection, seeing as opposed to just kind of being in your little bubble where, yeah, maybe you knew your 10 or 15 filmmakers and you thought, oh, well, compared to them, my work looks amazing. But you start getting out there, there's just that there are so many insanely talented people and people who just have a lot more experience than they who've been doing it longer. And it's all just more motivation to be better and to just it's easy. It's easy for me not so much to be better but to keep going because it's my favorite
Hmm.
thing to do. But yeah, so
Very true. Very true. Everything you're saying, you answered a lot of my questions before I even asked, to be honest.
nice.
Which, I really appreciate. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so the two easiest ways to find me, if you Google Harry Waldman, and last name Waldman, spelled how it sounds. If you Google Harry Waldman filmmaker, or if you Google Edgewater Film Productions, that's the name of my production company. My website, edgewaterfilmproduction.com, should come up. My name should come up, whether it's I have all the social media handles. I have Instagram, Facebook,
Mhm. That's
X,
good.
Threads, Blue Sky, Stage 32, LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. And the dots. And then I have YouTube and Vimeo
Hmm.
channels, which these short films are finishing up their festival runs. Actually, In the Backseat's just completed. So that will be the first one to go publicly on those pages. Enter the Room and Bay for Blood, I'm looking to possibly get on some streaming channels on YouTube, but regardless, I post about this stuff every day on social media. So if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, etc., as soon as these are available to view publicly, you will see it on my profiles. Um,
Um,
but yeah, so that's the easiest way. And then as for names, my Instagram name is hwaldman18, and then my other names are basically like I said, just Harry Waldman. It'll all show up.
Amazing. And what made you decide your name for your production company?
Yeah, so I love that you asked that question. That's not one I get as often, but yeah. So basically, I didn't mention him before because I didn't want to go forever on kind of my backstory on the film stuff. But one of the big steps and breaks I caught in my filmmaking career was I mentioned working on some sets before I made my own films. was the first film I worked on. This film called Self Deportation, which it's a cool indie film by this guy Eugene Park. Um, I met him at a filmmaker meetup, and on his film, it was the producer at the time. I met this guy Lance Elliott Adams, and meeting him was huge. We did a lot of Ida Carr, and I was one of the production assistants, so we did a lot of picking up supplies and food. So we I spent more time with him than anyone else on set, and it was a decently big set, at least for the stuff I've been on. There were sometimes 30, 40 plus people there. Um, but I spent a lot of time with him, and he really hit it off. And he had a decent amount of experience at the time, and he pretty much took me under his wing and started bringing me onto his films. Anyway, so he really helped out with Enter the Room. He produced it, he shot it, and
Hmm.
I kind of he was a mentor, and I used everything I learned from him and expanded on it on all my films since. But anyway, so getting into how I came up with the name Edgewater Film Productions, he has a company called Bridgeport Film Club. I believe he may have moved since, but for a while he lived in Bridgeport. So I kind of used that rubric. I figured, now I technically actually live in Rogers Park, which it's right north of Edgewater. I'm on the northern edge of Chicago. I just think Edgewater sounds a bit classier. So I was originally going to go with Rogers Park, but I figured, I'm right next to Edgewater, and I figure throw film productions on it. That sounds good enough. And then yeah, I kind of just built my website from there. That was a
That's
handful of
amazing.
years ago, and I've sort of just built it up ever
Hmm.
since, and kind of just try to keep everyone updated with all my current projects, upcoming projects, film festival selections, and awards, and yeah, went from there.
Well, that's amazing. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to hear more upcoming projects that you will do.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'll keep for everyone who's interested, just follow me. You can always reach out. I get a lot of emails, but I value every fan I have. So if you ever also my email address is edgewaterfilmproductions@gmail.com. If anyone's curious to see some of these shorts even before they come out streaming, I'm happy to send private links to them. But they will all end up publicly online, and yeah, as for the feature film, that's going to be a little more complex, and that's a bit away. But yeah, I'm just excited to get this next feature film and Cautious going, and the short animated film Slivered. I'm super excited to get out there. So yeah,
Well, amazing. Thank you again for coming on. Um, of course, and I'm so proud of you. All the works you're going to be doing and all the upcoming films you'll be doing. I can't wait to talk more about it. Being in the entertainment industry, you have to have a thick skin. And, I always talk about it because you do. We really do have to have a thick skin to be in the entertainment industry. Because it's not a competition. It's just constant. You got to keep doing it. You have to be constant. You have to be keep going. You have to do every day almost. Show your work, so people know you're doing it. And connections a big thing as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't love doing social media posts, but why do I do it every day? I do it because I want to get my work out there. In the digital age, I mean, it's awesome. It's great for consumers. There's an overwhelming amount of content. Um, so it's great, but the on the other hand, there's more competition than ever. So yeah, I try to do everything I can to get my stuff on as many eyeballs as possible. That's why, like I said, I know some people go the route where maybe they'll put their short films at least on some, you know, paid streaming site that maybe is decently known. I'm more concerned just with getting the eyeballs. That's why, like I said, the long term plan is to probably just get them on my Vimeo or YouTube pages or on one of the popular YouTube streaming channels. But yeah, I'm just going to keep putting myself out there, and slowly over time, kind of build from there. But mostly just focus on doing what I like doing so
right,
much,
gotta do what
and
you love.
growing as a filmmaker. That's kind of priority number one. But then while also making sure that I'm letting others know that my work is out there, and that I want good or bad response. I just want people to see my stuff.
Yes, very true. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I am so proud of you. I can't wait to have you back. to talk more about your upcoming film. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting with you. Yeah, this was awesome, great experience. Yeah, in the future, if you ever want to chat to see what's going on with my next few films or anything else in my filmmaking career, I'd be happy to come back on.
Yes, please do. We'll definitely stay in touch.
Absolutely, sounds good to me.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye-bye.
see ya.